Howdy folks, got another clean water store video for you. Today we're going to be looking at the 5900 BT air valve, and what we're going to be doing here is taking it apart and looking at the seal and spacer kit, and also taking the air injector assembly off. Occasionally people will get media stuck in the head during the startup of the unit, and so we're going to be taking a look at what you're going to do. You're going to leave the unit on your tank. As far as that goes, you'll have your bypass here, you'll have the unit on bypass. If you had pressurized water to the system, you'd go ahead and advance the valve over to a backwash position so it opens up the drain line port and then depressurizes the tank, and then you can go ahead and take the piston out and so forth. So the first thing you'll do, of course, is remove the head, and to start taking the valve apart, there are 8 screws total. The first 2 are 2 little black screws here, and you're going to get those off, and that'll allow you to pull away the bottom plate. And so put the bottom plate over there and the 2 screws there. Now you've got the piston yoke right here and the piston screw holding it. And you're going to remove that, and it's got that washer on there. Don't lose that washer. When you go to put it all back together, don't over tighten it, otherwise it'll bind the yoke. The yoke wants to travel up and down. So then the next thing you're going to remove are the 2 screws. There's 5 screws on the piston plate. The first 2 you remove are longer, and they are flathead screws. Then the other 3 are Phillips head, and they're a shorter throw screw. As far as that goes, so you get the first one off, and you get the second one off, and now the whole front of the valve is going to fall away from the camera, and whatever position the gear is in is where you're going to have to put the piston back when you're done to match it. We'll see that later on. So then you're going to back the whole thing away, and the whole thing pulls out and pulls away. If you need to pull it away further than what your cable runs to, then you would undo the circuit board and undo the cable wire. I'm not going to do that though, but if you do need to set it further away. So now that you've got it here, which would be the case on a tank most of the time, then you're going to have 3 of these screws. I already done the first one, but now I got to do the second 2 from scratch. We're going to remove these. If you got media jammed up in the head on startup, or if you're just doing this to inspect the piston chamber to see how bad it is clotted up with iron, then however bad it is what you're going to see when you start pulling the thing up and out. Of course, I have a brand new valve, so mine is going to be all clean. When you pull it up, when it's clean, it also tends to grab the seals and spacers with it. So there's the piston and several of the seals and spacers, and you get your fingers in there. You pull out the rest of the seals and spacers. At the very bottom, there is a end spacer. It has 2 little nubs on it that have to be oriented so that the little holes on the side of it line up correctly. So make sure that that is done. So, and then you'll be looking into the main piston chamber. You'll want to clean it all up. You'll want to remove anything that you find in there. You'll be looking straight down into the distribution tube on the bottom. You can generally check that there. Hopefully the distribution tube isn't up too high and that's causing a problem. While it's like this, you can remove your drain line, and now you've got a clear path, and you can make sure that part is clean. So that takes care of getting down and disassembling the valve, either for replacing the seals and spacers or cleaning or investigating and figuring out what's going on if you have media up in the head. Now, on the air portion, which we're going to flip around and look at the front, if you start by unjoining that John Guest fitting. Then, if you do have any debris or media stuck in the air draw assembly, now you can get over here and unscrew the air draw assembly. And you'll be able, at that point, that's where one of the injectors is. To get the injector out, I'm not going to do that. To get the injector out, you need to get a couple of small screwdrivers and pry it out of its little location there. And then check to make sure that it's clean as far as that goes. The duck bill for the air draw, this is the air draw part. The duck bill is right there. If your condition is that you have a little bit of water bleeding out of this, then this little piece right here, this little rubber piece, is going to have something jammed in it, and that's what the problem is. So as far as that goes, so that's the air intake and what stops the water from backfeeding. Remember, all of this tubing is under water pressure when the valve is in service, and that's where the injector is for the air draw. Over here on the side, I've removed already the first screw and the second screw, and now I'm taking off the injector assembly for the chemical draw. Now again, since I started with a new valve, I have mine plugged. If you're using the chemical draw, then this is something you would want to check to make sure that that injector isn't clogged, and you can grab a pair of needle nose and remove the screen. If you have bad iron, your screen will be orange, the color of iron, and you should be periodically cleaning this. If this isn't working, that's going to affect the air draw working as well. So that is taking it apart. This is the brine valve for the chem draw assembly, and that just pops up out of there, right there like that, as far as that goes. Pretty obviously the reverse assembly, I'm not going to go do it on the video, but the reverse assembly is pretty much putting that back there, putting that back there, reassembling that, and then the bottom spacer goes in first, oriented in the right way, then the other spacers go in, and then the piston drops in, and the three screws go down, and from there you're back in business. Okay folks, thanks a whole lot.